Hey, there we go. Welcome back, everybody, to the leadership stream. Just make sure you scan your badge on your way in. And if you can take your seats, we'll get started. All right. It's my pleasure to introduce our next presenter. Valerie Jenkinson is the chair of Operators Without Borders and has led teams on the water utility recovery post-disaster. She is part of the WASH group and holds certificates in disaster coordination. Last year, she was named the focal point of the year for the Global Water Partners Caribbean in recognition of her contributions to the water industry in the Caribbean. Valerie is also the CEO of the World Water and Wastewater Solutions Limited, and has worked with national and local governments, the EOCP, the Ministry of Health, and the BCWWA, primarily undertaking stakeholder consultations and writing strategic and communication planning documents. She spends half her year in the Caribbean working on climate mitigation measures for water utilities, conducting rate analysis, and supporting operations in those communities. Welcome, Valerie.
Thank you very much. And I'll introduce my colleagues that are going to come in online in a short while. And I'd like to shout out to Ignatius Jean in St. Lucia, my other hometown, who's joining us virtually, who is head of the Caribbean Water and Sewage Association. So hi, Ignatius. I'd like you to imagine for one moment that you're a water manager and your country is in lockdown. You can't go out. It's just too dangerous. There is no electricity. The roads are cut off. Gas today was $30 US a gallon. So don't you complain to me about the price of the pumps here. $30 US a gallon. Your banker, who you worked with in your organization, there was an attempted kidnapping outside the bank. She resisted. This week, this was Monday when I was talking to my colleague, and she was shot and killed. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the situation in Haiti today. And we don't deploy anybody there right now, but we are doing a lot to help Haiti. Because right now, in most of the areas, there is no electricity. But in the areas we are working in, the water is running. I get goose pimples when I say that. You have no idea, perhaps, what a statement that is, because these villages have never had water before. But we are working with Handwash, the Rotary Club International, to bring water to Haiti. You all know about non-revenue water. In the Caribbean, for some of you who have been there, 60% leakage. The communes we were working with in Haiti was at 90%. That's not 9, that's 90. Carl Yates, one of our board members at Operators Without Borders and who is in charge of Halifax Water, did a program for them on non-revenue water and district metered areas. Within 3 months of them instituting the practices he taught them, in July, the non-revenue water was down to 47%. They don't talk about water leakage index, we still talk in percentages there. This month, we've decreased that another 5%. Down to 42% leakage. Now, for many of you, 42% leakage would be totally unacceptable. But when you've come from 90% to 80% to 47% to now 42%, this is amazing. Mike Taylor, another one of our volunteers, is working with them on leak detection, setting up the metered areas. We've just got a whole bunch of smart meters have been donated by Water Mission. So this is the type of work that our volunteers do. And we have 3 of our volunteers I know that are here today. Mike Falot, Uli, and Jim. Come up and just join me. I'm not going to ask you to speak, but I'd like you to recognize these people because I'll talk a little bit about what they've done. But it's just that I walk in the room and 3 of my wonderful volunteers are here. Mike has done a lot of certification training for the Caribbean. Ignatius knows him very well. Jim, you were in Belize and Barbados, I think? Both of them. And the Bahamas, yeah. And you were in the Bahamas?
Bahamas.
Yes. So these two gentlemen here worked in disaster recovery. So this is our main focus, is going in after disasters. And so if you've heard some of our presentations before, you'll have heard about some of the work that we've done. And they can answer any questions about not just what they did there, because we've presented that before, but actually what it meant to them going down there as operators and the things that they came out with. So if we have time at the end, I'm going to just ask you to take, but just, I'd like a round of applause for these gentlemen, please. So we're doing a huge amount of training in conjunction with the Caribbean Water and Sewage Association in the Caribbean. We're doing incident command system training. How many of you are certified in any way, level 1 to level 4 in incident command? Yeah, a few people around the room. We are focused, we've trained over 300 people in the last year. And we have a grant from the International Development Bank to take 3 countries, the Bahamas, Barbados and Jamaica, through to level 300. And we hope to get another grant to do the 400. So we're going to be doing that in January next year. We were supposed to be doing the level 200 in Jamaica this week, virtually. I got as we do in the Caribbean sometimes, things are a bit last minute. I got an email on Sunday morning that due to unforeseen circumstances, which I have no idea what they were, maybe the Queen died and they're all celebrating it, I don't know, but they postponed it, so we're going to be doing that in October. Also, we do a huge amount of water and wastewater certification training and different types of training, anything that they need. Our volunteers can do. And Mike was getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning from his utility, doing a 3-hour training session before he went to work for 10 weeks? Yeah, for 10 weeks. So that's the level of commitment. We desperately need more trainers. So if any of you have done training before on anything, doesn't have to be the certification, we're going to need a lot more trainers going forward. So please talk to me. If you haven't done training before, but you've got a wealth of knowledge and you think you could train, we'll help you and we'll train you to be a trainer. So please come and help us on that. So I'm going to talk next about the biggest thing that we have on the radar right now, which is the Ukraine. And I'm joined today, and hopefully all our connections work, but by Rysart Gajewski, Don Zimvere Rysart, and Zimvere Yuri. I work with these gentlemen on my trip to Poland. I was hoping to go to Ukraine, but Operators Without Borders board of directors felt it was too dangerous, and they told me I couldn't go. So I spent a lot of time working on the Ukraine situation with the folks in Poland and in Germany. And I'm joined today, and I'm going to let them talk a little bit about what they're doing, by Rysart Gajewski. He's the president of the management board of Gdańsk Water, in charge of stormwater. They have 3 associations that I met with when I was there to do with water, and he's in charge of the stormwater. But he's also leading the charge on Ukraine. And he's joined by another good friend of mine, Yuri Zaditsyn, who's a technical advisor and coordinator of Ukraine and the president of the Convent of Ukrainian Managers of Utilities and the former president of the Ukrainian Association of Utilities. So I'm going to start off, Rysart, with you. This summer, you led a trip to visit and do assessments in many water utilities in the Ukraine. And I'd like you to tell us about what you found there. What are the conditions? I mean, we read a lot in the newspapers every day. We are, I'm sure I can speak for everybody here, absolutely delighted by the news coming out of Ukraine for the last 2 days, that you are pushing the Russians back, and you have our hearts and our support here in Canada. So I'm going to turn it to you. Tell us about this trip you made, and Yuri was with you. So Yuri speaks reasonable English, but he may need some translation as well. But tell us about what you found there, if you would. I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, may I start?
Go ahead, Yuri. I mean, Rysart.
Okay, greetings from Gdańsk. It's 8 p.m. Now in Gdańsk, Poland. Let me start from the small story, because when the Russian aggression starts, I was very angry. And I started to think, what can I do to help Ukraine from Poland? I cannot fight. So I started to speak to people, and I met Yuri, and we started to think how can we help. So, for example, in April, we sent some technical equipment, pumps and power generators to Borodyanka, the city which was very much destroyed, and then we took the technical mission and to find out the situation in Ukraine and what are needed by Ukrainian operators. Let me, I'll try to share the screen and can you see?
Not yet. Have we lost him?
Okay.
Yeah, we can see that now.
Okay,
We can
so
see it online.
Can you see it?
Yes, we can see. So if you just describe what we're
Yes, we
seeing.
can see it online. Thank you.
So these are photos from Borodyanka, destroyed houses, a block of flats by Russian invaders. This is next photo. The destroyed infrastructure, shops, houses, private cars, and the building of operator waterworks in Irpin, and also destroyed technical equipment of waterworks. So so what we observe, so we have seen this in Ukraine, and this is the last photo is destroyed famous bridge between Irpin and Kiev. So you see the infrastructure, and especially electricity and water infrastructure. This is the aim of Russian aggressor. They want to destroy it in order to so they use all the possible methods to win this war. So what we discovered at the site in Ukraine, so this is very much needed now. It's still equipment and tools because, for example, cities around Kiev where heavy fights took place, they still need rebuilding the houses and all infrastructure. But the worst situation now is in the eastern Ukraine, where these heavy fights are still take place. So this is so this is the most important now. And the second thing is the training. So we want to establish, and we try to establish cooperation with Ukrainian cities, Ukrainian operators, because they need training. They are good specialists, but they need knowledge about the European standards, about the procurements, our procedures in order to apply for European money. So this is the second thing which is needed. And after the visit, we start fundraising to buy the sanitation car for Borodzianka, because we were speaking in Borodzianka with general manager of waterworks, and he told us that he needed very much. So we finished this fundraising. We bought the car, and next month we are going to deliver it. Unfortunately, we know now that that this general manager, he went to front to fight. So the man we were speaking in Borodzianka.
What you're saying is the water manager that you were dealing with is no longer there. He's been sent to the Donbass, I believe, to fight. Is that correct? Did you hear that, Raizad? Anyway, so that's the fellow we were dealing with in Ukraine is no longer the water utility manager. He's now a soldier.
I believe you're muted, Val.
Okay. So our technical guys, I don't think you'd hear me.
I can't hear. I can't hear you, Valerie.
I don't know if I can communicate with him, our technical guys. Just go ahead, Raizad. I think they're trying to work it out back there. Okay, can you hear me now, Raizad?
Yes.
Okay, so my understanding was that the water manager you were dealing with has been sent to the Donbass to fight. Is that correct?
Yes, that's true. Yeah, this man we were speaking in Borodzianka, the general manager, after we came back to Poland, we got the information that we went to front to Donbass. Yes.
Right. So with Operators Without Borders, you were one of the people who took the incident command system training that we did through Poland for Ukraine and other places. Can you tell us a little bit why you were so keen on the training, what you learned from it, and why that is part of the plan going forward to teach a lot more people there on the incident command systems?
Yeah, I find it very, very useful. I took this level 100 and I like it very much. In Poland and in Gdańsk, we observe each year more flood events. So thus we have to be better prepared for that. So this is very useful also for us, such structure, and I like really the structures, and we think this we can use it in our situations. And I think also that this could be a good platform of exchanging the experience between Ukraine about their incident management during the war, and your experience and your system.
Okay. And can you just tell us, before I just pass it to Yuri for a couple of minutes, about the proposal that Operators Without Borders and you and Yuri and some of the others started putting together when I was in Gdańsk? Can you talk about what the purpose is of this proposal and what we're hoping to do?
Yeah, this is what I said, that we think that there are two aims now. One aim of what we can help is to deliver steel equipment and tools, and the second aim is building the long-term cooperation, because we have to help them in the longer term. And so in order to do it, this is the training is very much important. So we think that Poland, which is very close to Ukraine and helping very much now in many situations. So we can also provide some training about European standards and about European procurements, European procedures. So this is the aim is that people from Ukraine, for operators, they are very much prepared to applying for European money for rebuilding the infrastructure, because this is very much needed.
Right. And I remember you telling me that the Poles should lead this because you understand the Russian mentality and the culture, and that the West does not really understand that. They think they can negotiate with him, but the Poles have different experiences, and so you're in a very good position to lead this initiative.
Yeah, we are between, Poland is between East and West, so we can be a good place of transforming the knowledge from Western countries to Ukraine.
Okay. Well, thanks, Faisal. I'm going to ask you to hold on because there may be questions from the audience later. But Yuri, if we can bring you in, and we'll go slowly. But you are back in the Ukraine, I think, right now. I understand you delivered some bicycles right almost to the front in Donbass recently. So if we can bring Yuri up on the screen and just say...
Yes. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for invitation to this meeting. I'm glad to pass to you congratulations from Ukraine, from city Lviv. At the moment I stay here. Tomorrow we will have a big meeting, maybe a little more or 200 participants this event. And I can't explain what I doing before, and few words about situation at the moment. Few minutes before I have meeting with my colleagues, which moving in this place to Lviv from hot places, for example, Kramatorsk, Kharkov, Mykolaiv, Chernigov, and I discussed with them about our project, which we prepare together. And I think at the moment when Ukraine haven't enough of money, we must study our stuff. We must study our colleague from water company, from utilities, because Ukraine is a candidate for European Union, and we must have too much change. And main topics for me, it's study, it's training, and pass knowledge our colleagues for example how is in Poland. And I have, for example, strange situation. We prepare our meeting in Gdansk and Slupsk together with colleagues from Polish, Ukrainian, and Estonian. And we invite we give not money from Polish colleagues because only they stay only 1 day. Colleagues from Estonia have payment more or less or Ukraine. but Ukraine haven't money. I must invite, but they must pay for this, for traveling, for prepare, for hotels, for in other jobs. But we find support assistance because starting this process education, process change of experience. I think, do you understand me? We will find how we must to do in future. Our way must be right, but I don't know how. It's finish. Sorry.
Prosecco, thank you very much, Yuri. So stay on the line because there may be some questions. And thank you very much for Aizad and Yuri for your outstanding hospitality, and I learned a tremendous amount with you and your colleagues when I was there. So we're going to stay with Ukraine, but I'm going to bring in Ian McIlwam, who is the compliance manager. Ian is he's a Class 4 wastewater operator, has worked in the water and wastewater sector for 30 years, and he's the compliance manager from Durham region. He's also the senior rep for Canada's National Critical Infrastructure Committee and the Canadian Mirror Committee for ISO TC224, which has the international standard on crisis management of water utilities. He's also one of our most active volunteers, and I'm going to ask Ian if he would come on and talk about first what he's doing in Ukraine. Alongside me, we have 2 or 3 meetings a week with the WASH group, the Water and Sanitation and Hygiene group, and Ian is leading one of the subcommittees. So even though we can't send anybody right now, it's too dangerous, obviously, to go into Ukraine. Although when I said that to Yuri, he said, why? I said, well, I want to keep people safe. But Ian, I'm going to pass it over to you to talk about what you're doing first in Ukraine, and then some of the other things that you're involved in, like Africa, where you're going to be going to do certification training in November. So over to you.
Okay, thanks, Val. And hopefully I come through clear. I am camping this week, so I kind of drove around the park till I found a place with a signal. So, okay, and it was nice, very nice hearing from colleagues in Poland and Ukraine. Where Operators Without Borders is involved is myself and Valerie and other experts as we bring them in. We sit on the Water Quality Technical Committee. This is a committee run through the WASH cluster. That's the Water, Sanitation, and Health. And it's chaired by the CDC, the Center for Disease Control out of the States. And we have members that are in Ukraine on site, such as the Vodocanals, which is just the other term for their utilities, their water utilities. They reference as Vodocanals. So we have members from the Vodocanals, members from the government, members from WHO. And the purpose of our group is to look at issues related to the quality of water and also issues related to treatment of water. So one of our large focuses is looking at what capabilities are left in Ukraine laboratory-wise for providing information and sampling. A, do they still exist? Have they been damaged? B, do they still have the supplies and the resources to conduct certain tests? And from that, we establish the quality of the water in certain regions, and then responding aid groups. They know what they're getting into. They know what the Vodocanals or the people themselves need for assistance. And we try to help provide them information around that. And one of the kind of areas, a subgroup that Operators Without Borders has taken over, and that is communal level treatment. Not large treatment plants like the Vodocanals, but perhaps things for hospitals, churches, military institutions, and working with them through assisting them in recognizing what they need for package plants. And that is basically a complete kind of process where you look at the current conditions in the area, the current conditions of the infrastructure, the water that is available, and what the the parameters are and the quality of that water, and then matching with how we can assist, whether it's chemicals, whether it's treatment, whether it's personnel. So that's our focus in Ukraine right now. We've produced a few documents. We're working on others, and the committee has broadened its scope a little bit in regards to the Vodal canals. For example, I may pronounce it wrong, sorry, in Mykolaiv, the Vodal canal there, its water intake was destroyed during bombing. It was damaged, not destroyed. So they've had to bring online some wells, but these wells have brackish water. So it's extremely corrosive in the pipes. It's damaging the pipes. They're having many pipe bursts. So that's a problem we're trying to assist in, whether it's actually a corrosion issue or whether it's, for those familiar with water mains and corrosion, that whether the kind of scaling layer inside them has been removed off, and thus the pipes don't have the protection anymore. So it's quite interesting work, and we do have a combination of people in the field and then others that are helping from outside of the country. And that is what we're doing in Ukraine. Val, you've had another question, I believe?
Just add that I had a meeting with the director, the head of UN Habitat in Geneva in July, and he is very excited about working with Operators Without Borders. He is hoping that he's had a request from the mayor of Kharkiv to go in and rebuild. And he wants to make sure that it's done correctly and sustainably, because very often what happens in countries is they get a large amount of money and they build to the money they have rather than to what the need is. And he wants to make sure that, that things are built in a sustainable manner to the need. And he's asked that he thinks we can help with that. So there's a number of opportunities for people to volunteer and use their expertise. Corrosion, as Ian said, is a big thing that they're looking at right now. So those are a lot of the things that we're doing. Ian, do you just want to talk a little bit about Africa, what you're going to be doing there?
Sure. And the sun has actually come out here, which is nice for me camping, but not so nice for this video, probably. In Africa, Operators Without Borders has paired up with others to look at certification of water and wastewater staff in Africa, something that's not predominantly done. But it's something that we promote. Being an operator is a profession. It does involve licensing, and that's a model we'd really like to bring to those in Africa. And we're working with Kenya, with a utility out of Nakura. And what the goal is to train their staff. Their staff are already quite knowledgeable, but train their staff to the point where they can pass a certification exam. Perhaps level 1, and for those who want to go a little higher, the 2, 3, and 4 in the future. It is quite difficult sometimes in working with other utilities, in the sense that their staff are a complete range. Often they're very well educated. Some of the staff, they have master's degrees, things like that. And there's also staff who have a little trouble reading and writing. So that doesn't mean they're not good at their job by any means. It just means that to pass a certification exam might be difficult. And that's where we're trying to assist them. We have some backing from AWWA and WEF, I believe. Val would know more than me on getting in some training material. And so we are going to present some virtual sessions to them. And then in November, myself and I think maybe some others will be going to Nakura to host 2 weeks of in-field training with the staff, with the goal of allowing their staff to get a license, and to really take that kind of mentality that it is a profession. You know, we'd like qualified people running our water and wastewater plants, and we'd like to assist those people if we can. And Operators Without Borders, it's not just operators. That's predominantly what it is. But it's, as you can see, going from a project like Ukraine, we might want technical experts, engineers, and operators. We draw on those resources that we have throughout North America and also some other contacts we have, and we apply them to the situation. So for Africa, it's a different situation. We're not going in there to rebuild infrastructure. We're not going in for damaging. We're not going in to assess their infrastructure, but we're going in to teach the staff how to progress and how to get their certification. So that is Africa. We're looking forward to that. And I'm sure with the successful in Kenya, then that could be expanded. to other areas.
Yeah, it is a pilot test that we're doing, and we're working with WPI, which was formerly ABC, to do the certification. And the other thing that you did fairly recently was the lab training for Dominica, because some of you were in Dominica. Everything was destroyed. They built a new lab, but then they didn't have anybody who was trained to run it. So Ian, you stepped in there, and you and Janine put a very good training program. Do you just want to take 1 minute to tell us about that?
Sure, and thanks to the gentleman on the stage there that they went in after the hurricane and reestablished the water systems. My part was several years later. The lab was destroyed in the hurricane. There's very few labs on Caribbean islands. We tend to see that. So theirs had been destroyed. They did get funding and they rebuilt it, but the staff themselves, some had left in that. So in Durham region, in Ontario, we have a very large lab, a regional environmental lab that falls under our crevice. So what we did is we paired up to them through virtual sessions, and we met twice a week for a morning or an afternoon, and we reviewed common lab tasks with the equipment they had. And then what we did, we paired with our lab staff where they demonstrated live on the same equipment that they'd be using in Dominica. And then we had them film themselves doing the tests. So it worked very well. Hands-on is always better, particularly something like a lab course. Other things you can teach virtually. So we made it work. They were very appreciative, and it gave their new staff a bit of a footing in safety in labs, how to do specific tests, how to do quality results. And it gave them a bit of a start. And in any project, we try Opposite Borders to still remain there to help. For example, we were in Belize a few years ago. We did some assessments down there. And then now we have a manager from Belize, Eric Rayborn, who's going to come up and spend a week in Ontario with myself touring water and wastewater facilities to try to bring back some more knowledge.
Okay, thanks, Ian. And the other thing we did in Belize is, train 120 of their staff in safety procedures over a 2-week period. So Ron Enns, who was speaking at the conference yesterday, he was part of that team, and he did the training for the safety. They'd had an incident with a trenching collapse, nearly lost one of their operators, a young fellow, and they said, we never want to go through that again. So we trained all of their staff in safety issues. The other big thing that we've been doing is on standard operating procedures. I mean, how many of you would operate a plant without standard operating procedures? Down in the Caribbean and other areas, very often there's hardly any. So our team, led by Marcel in Eastern Canada, with a whole committee, has put together 225 SOPs that we're going to give away. We've had a team vetting each of the SOPs. We're going to give them away, but they'll need to be customized. So what we're going to offer utilities is, okay, if you tell us what SOPs you need, and then we'll assign somebody to help you customize those to your utility. So there's, as you can see, there's such a wide range of opportunities to volunteer or to donate. We need to send these people places. But that's the type of thing that we need help. So whether you want to go abroad or whether you just want to stay here, there are opportunities to do both. And I'm going to, in the time we have left, just open the floor to some questions. You can ask questions to anybody from our team, or if you have disaster or training questions, ask the gentlemen here. Chris.
Thank you, Valerie. Before I go to the room, we have one question online. And that is, has there been any preliminary assessments to the cost to the repair of the damages to the water and wastewater infrastructure for the areas around Kiev and Kharkiv? As operators, many of us would like to help get your citizens back to their communities, so sending funds may be the start. How can we help?
Raisa, do you want to, or Yui, tackle that question? Certainly we can use it. We are collecting funds right now to do training and to get equipment. They've already sent one truck. But are there any estimates? I don't know that there are right now. There's so many damaged areas. Raisa?
Yes, there's so much, the cities have so much damages. So, for example, the city of Borodyanka, 15,000 cities, I think 70% of cities destroyed. So how to? So we don't know the cost. No, I don't know. Perhaps somebody who is assessing at the moment. But we were speaking when we were in Ukraine. We were speaking about the subject, and they told us that they even need engineers to assess the cost, because the cost of and the scope of damages. Why we deliver this sanitation car? We asked them about the state of their sewers, and they even didn't know after bombing what is the technical state of the sewer. They were just only repairing the damages, and they didn't have had equipment and time to monitor the what is the technical state. So I cannot I think give you the any cost.
But in the proposal that we're putting together to do what we can, because there will be a lot of money going into Ukraine from the US and England and Europe, but what we're trying to do is raise this money to train them. Poland went into the EU 25 years ago, and this is what Ryszard was saying about they're the ones that can help, because they went through this huge rebuilding process when they got money from the EU. And there was a lot of mistakes made, Ryszard was telling me, and so they can talk about lessons learned. So we're trying to raise, over $1 million to bring people into Poland from Ukraine to do training. Now, right now, we can't bring any of the men who are between 18 and 60. They're not allowed out of Ukraine because they are working there and they're soldiers. But there's a lot of women in the industry. I believe Yuri and Ryszard, and also, let's face it, a lot of managers are over the 60 years of age as well, or getting close, so they would be able to come out. So we're looking at what we can do now, but we're also putting plans in place through Operators Without Borders in this consortium with when we can go in there, when it is safe, because right now you repair something and then the Russians bomb it again. So how much money do we need? How much money do we need today or tomorrow or the next day? It's really difficult to say that. But we know what our plan is. Ryszard has put this proposal together, and we need to raise money for that. So if you want to be a member of Operators Without Borders, it's $50 Canadian for 3 years. But it puts you on a mailing list. You'll know exactly what's going on. We've got some, I'll have it out at the front desk where you can just scan. I've got a QR code that you can scan and go to our website and join as an operator. You can sign up as a volunteer. Let us know if you have training experience. There may not be anything to do for this year, next year. I mean, for 3 years, we've been in lockdown. We've been, Mike's been doing a lot. The training's been doing a lot, but we haven't been able to deploy anybody. It's just not been able to because of COVID. But we're back, and there are places. We're in hurricane season in the Caribbean right now. The biggest, we start in July, but the biggest hurricanes come October, November. So we could be needing volunteers to go and do what you guys did again. So any more questions from the audience or from online?
There's no more online, so if
Okay.
we have any questions in the audience.
Over here, Heather. While you're walking, Jim, you were in 2 places.
Yes.
What did it mean to you?
Well, it was quite an adventure. I was in Barbados first, where they were quite recovered, but I mean the damage is just devastating, and I think it's sort of what we see in our own field. When something gets broken, it sometimes takes a long time to get it put back to the way it should truly be. So we did a lot of assessment on the different areas, and water and electricity is just, the damages that can be done are amazing. So I had the opportunity to go to the Bahamas next to Freeport, and I mean the water was 25 feet deep. So that's this room full. So their water plant, everything, the motors, the panels, everything, all completely under salt water. And, you know, I was there in early December, so they'd had some recovery time. Everything, all the trees are dead. All the trees are dead. But the growth is starting to green up again. The houses are all still knocked down and all garbage piled up outside. They've got their water plants running, but their aquifer, which is only 3 feet deep, is full of salt water. Yeah. And their fields cover miles and miles of land, and they have these pumps all over the place. So we spent a lot of those pumps, all the hydro that ran to the mall had all been taken down. So we basically spent 3 weeks putting the little capacitor boxes back together and getting them all ready for the electrician to come in and get the pumps started. And I think in the time that we were there, we brought about 40 pumps back online. So at least capacity was going up. We did see the goal being that the changeover in the water with more flow perhaps would eliminate the saltwater intrusion.
Okay, I'm going to go to the question over here now. This gentleman. Yes, please.
Sorry, hi. I got a question about certifications. When you're talking about certifying other operators from different countries, where are you guys certifying it? With EOCP or like in other countries?
No, directly with Water Professionals International. We're working in conjunction with them on this pilot test. And then we will look at, in the Caribbean, it is done through the Caribbean Water and Sewage Association. So they're the EOCP equivalent. So each country...
Local organization.
Yes, yes. And that's what, if I may be going myself to set this up, we'll look at partnering with the university to do the invigilation, or we'll do it online. So there's a lot of things that, this is why we're doing pilots. I'm working with Global Wastewater Initiative out of Nairobi, which is, I'm on their leadership committee. So this is a joint venture with them, which is why we're focusing mostly on wastewater at this time there. But it will be with WPI. And it's the same, it'll be exactly the same exam that you take. So it's going to be challenging in some places because the English is not so good. We may have to look at translation. Sometimes literacy skills are not the greatest. It may be similar to some of our First Nations.
I think we have time for one more question. Lunch is waiting in the lobby. I'm sure everyone wants to get to that.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
When you're going to a different country and you need equipment, how do you transport the equipment, and where do you get all this?
We don't take equipment. That's one of the reasons that we wait until equipment is available. We are not first responders, although we do help the other NGOs. Often they don't have the skill sets that we do. They wanted to put an RO system together in a container. They're going to have a husband and wife team do it from a church. You know, 2 of our volunteers went in and did it in a day. So we help other NGOs, but we wait until the equipment is there. I mean, is
this working? No. What do I do?
Yeah.
Yeah, as to equipment, I noticed that Operators Without Borders doesn't supply equipment, but when I got to Bahamas, the room was 32 feet of water over the water station, but there was equipment that had been delivered. There were generators, there were water pumps, but people didn't know what to do. So they said, there's 3 trucks full of equipment. Find out what you've got and go to work, and we got to get this well field back and running. Electrical junction boxes, and you need a diversity of skills. I don't have them all, but we found that, okay, we have electrical equipment, we have several motors and pumps, and we just started to work with what we had. So the key is being versatile and open-minded and working with the people that you have. You have people, and you're lucky if you have equipment.
And we pay all expenses. It's not like one of the charities, many charities, you're expected to pay your own way and then make a donation as well. We are so grateful for all our volunteers that we pay all expenses when you're going. So I know we could go on forever. It's a huge topic. We'll be here, so you can come and talk to any of us. Rizard, Yuri, Ian, thank you so much. I will be in touch, as you know. The bad penny keeps turning up, and we'll talk to you very soon. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.